Hello everyone. Today I wanted to do a book review on To Catch a Predator by Chris Hansen. And while this book is a little outdated, I believe it was published in 2007, the information is still valid, helpful, disturbing, but also covers topics that I feel are useful in understanding what is happening online and how to protect your children. While this book barely scratches the surface of online predators, I would caution you now that by its very nature, the book deals with subject matter which at times is sickening, rage-inducing, and can't be unread. So why read this book at all? Because we owe it to children everywhere to protect them from the growing problems of online grooming, exploitation, and trafficking. The book opens up with a brief description of an online watchdog group called Perverted Justice, which has investigated, identified, and publicized the content of conversations of adults using chat rooms in order to solicit sexual conversations and or meetings with minors. The group was founded in 2002 in Portland, Oregon, and they have done investigations in Oregon and California. The website utilized volunteers posing as underage teens to carry out sting operations on chat sites. Perverted Justice would then post the chat logs to their website so the public would have an understanding of the behavior and child grooming techniques used by online pedophiles. In late 2018, Perverted Justice announced that they would be ending active decoy operations by early 2019. Changing internet platforms, specifically Twitter and social networking in general, contributed to the organization's decision to cease operations. Predators are no longer confined to chat rooms on personal computers, and it will be up to future generations to figure out the best ways to navigate the changing technology. Perverted Justice will keep their site open, and if you are looking for specific information, you can email their admin team. So the reason, and this is explained in the book, that Dateline paired up with Perverted Justice for the show was so that the whole story could be shown and or told. Being able to review the chat logs allows insight into the minds of the men showing up at the sting house hoping for a sexual encounter with a minor. Perverted Justice had the expertise in dealing with online predation. Producing the show this way allowed viewers to see the evolution from the chat room conversation to phone calls to face-to-face meeting versus a one-sided view of police showing up to arrest someone, and then that's all that the viewer saw. The book then goes into a brief summary of the Long Island and Virginia investigations, how the episodes went, who showed up, etc. Chris Hansen adds information that took place outside of filming, such as men who spoke to decoys but never showed up, concerns about the locations of the sting houses, and how the crew operated behind the scenes. The book then segues into an interview with Rick Woody, whose daughter, Casey Renee Woody, was murdered by someone she met online in a Christian chat room. Casey was 13 years old when she met Dave from California, who claimed to be 17. Because Dave lived in California and Casey lived in Arkansas, Mr. Woody saw no problems with the two talking online. As a police officer and a father, he was more concerned about the guy in a trench coat at the playground in real life. The computer was in the living room, and Rick Woody kept tabs on who Casey chatted with. Dave even chatted with Casey's friends, Samantha and Jessica, as well. Sam once asked Casey if she planned to meet Dave, but Casey said that she wasn't stupid and that she had read Katie.com, now retitled A Girl's Life Online by Catherine Tarbo. Unfortunately, Dave, or David Fuller, was 47 years old, not 17. By talking with Casey online and by phone, he had managed to get enough information to figure out where she lived, when her father would be working, her mother had died 5 years previously, and when her college-aged brother would be out of the house. David Fuller kidnapped Casey Renee Woody on December 3rd, 2002, using chloroform. By the time detectives tracked Fuller down to a storage unit, Casey was dead, and Fuller shot himself before capture. The book Casey was referencing, A Girl's Life Online, is the story of another 13-year-old girl who was lonely and self-conscious and fell prey to 23-year-old Mark in an AOL chat room. Katie agreed to meet Mark when she went to a hotel in Texas for a swimming competition. Unfortunately for Katie, 23-year-old Mark turned out to be a middle-aged pedophile named Frank. While the FBI was not able to link Fuller's DNA to any unsolved murders, what they did learn at the time of Casey's death was that he was regularly speaking with 3 other girls in Michigan, Texas, and Pennsylvania. Rick Woody created the Casey Woody Foundation to create awareness of the issue of internet dangers, and he also created an internet predator awareness team to educate parents and kids about online sexual predators. One of the useful pieces of information I found when looking at the Casey Woody Foundation was this: 15 apps parents should know about on their children's phones. And this is a list that gives you what the name of the app is and what it does. So there is Meet Me, WhatsApp, Bumble, Live.me, Ask.fm, Grindr, TikTok, Snapchat, Holla, Calculator, Scout, Badoo, Kick, Whisper, Hot, or Not. Now you might be saying the Calculator Plus. What is so interesting about that one? And police say this is one of several apps that is used to hide photos, videos, files, and browser history. So all of these sites come with an explanation and why a parent might want to be a little bit wary or pay attention if their child was using them and would want to familiarize themselves with the app. The book moves on to tell the stories of several advocates and how they joined the fight against crimes against children on the internet, and speaks about the California investigation/episode. Chapter 5 then goes on to talk about the other victims, the wives and children of men arrested for soliciting minors online, and the stigma attached to the family for the sins of the father, aka crimes they didn't commit. 3 women using false names to protect their identities, and more specifically the identities of their children, give interviews on the days their worlds were shattered by phone calls from the police after their husbands had been arrested for soliciting minors online. The book has a chapter discussing MySpace, while outdated could also be substituted with Facebook, and talks about the case of Christina Long. Christina was a 13-year-old altar girl attending Catholic school who led the cheerleading squad. She had made more than one internet profile on MySpace, the second being an account with a provocative screen name. Christina Long was strangled to death by a married restaurant worker she met on the internet. Christina Long was vulnerable. She had moved in with her aunt to escape her abusive mother. The internet was her escape from her chaotic life. Her aunt monitored her online account, but was unaware that Christina had multiple profiles and a secret life online. The book then moves on to the Ohio and Florida investigations/episodes, again sharing details and stories not aired on television. And then Chapter 18 is an in-depth interview with a detective in Ohio. Chapter 9 deals with treatment for offenders from the perspective of Dr. Fred Berlin, one of the nation's foremost authorities on the treatment of sexual disorders and sexual offenders. Berlin says that in pedophilia, as in other sexual disorders, sometimes you can identify factors in nurturing, sometimes you can identify factors in nature, such as chromosomes, brain damage, or hormones. But in terms of etiology, what a sexual disorder is not caused by, what it is not due to, is voluntary choice. In talking about the internet in conjunction with sexual disorders, Berlin goes on to say what the internet has done is to accelerate temptation in drastic ways. He uses the analogy of alcoholism. There are people who might become alcoholics, but they stay away from the bars and don't go where people are drinking heavily. But if someone were to every day bring a keg of alcohol into their home and sit it next to their bed, they might eventually give in and start drinking. And he is saying that keg would be the computer where people with sexual disorders can go into these chat rooms and chat anonymously online. There is another brief chapter on the Georgia and Northern California investigations before the final chapter on keeping kids safe, the realities of who is online, the conversations you should be having with your children about safety online. While this is a bit outdated, I do believe that number 5 is on point, and that is being aware of any cell phones or webcams showing up in your house that you did not purchase as the parent. Potential predators might have purchased these items for your child and could be in the process of grooming them. I would like to add that I personally believe that Shared Hope International is an excellent resource on the grooming and trafficking process and has information on how to talk to kids and teens and how to keep them safe from online predators. Lastly, what happened to the show? Well, the book doesn't address this. To Catch a Predator was canceled in 2008, in part because Louis Conrad, an assistant district attorney in Rockwell County, Texas, shot himself after he was caught talking to and exchanging photos with a perverted justice volunteer posing as a 13-year-old boy. When Conrad did not show up for a prearranged meeting, NBC and local police tracked him to his home. He committed suicide as police and an NBC camera crew entered his home. In an interview with Time magazine, Hansen opined that the show had simply run its course. However, in late 2007, Conrad's sister sued NBC Universal, saying that the police had raided Conrad's house at the behest of NBC. In January 2008, federal Judge Jenny Chin dismissed most of Patricia's claims, but found that she had a reasonable chance of proving that NBC had pressed police into engaging in unreasonable and unnecessary tactics solely for entertainment value, thus creating a substantial risk of suicide or other harm. And thus came an end to the To Catch a Predator series. Is it worth a read? I still think it is. Again, I think that there is some outdated information in this book, but I do think that one of the things that is very interesting that Chris Hansen does talk about is he mentions it in 2 parts of the book, that there are times where he has talked to children and asked them if they have had strangers or adults solicit them for sex, and most of the children or all of the children said yes. Then he asked them if they ever told their parents, and none of the children said yes. When asked why, it was because they did not want their parents to limit their online activity. And now with kids having access to cell phones, I don't even think limiting their activity, I mean, they can go to the library and get online. I don't think limiting your child's activity online is even something that's realistic anymore, but I do think that parents need to be talking to their children about who is online where people are meeting children online to groom them, what grooming looks like, when a child should have red flags about someone who is talking to them online, checking in with your children, knowing who they are talking to online, parental controls on their accounts, all of those things so that you can keep your children safe. All right, that is it for this review. As always, thank you for watching. If there is a book that you would like me to do a review on, please just drop me a message in the comments below. I upload every weekend as I work Monday through Friday, and I will see you in the next video.